Europe's luxury passenger trains are famous the world round for good reason. If anything set the standard for luxury rail travel, it was the great trains of Europe. That being said, the American Streamliners of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s set their own standards for rail travel. Neither was soon to be forgotten, despite the fact that by the end of the 1960s the Streamliners were gone, as were many European icons, such as the Orient Express. Although Amtrak continued operating passenger rail service in the United States, picking up many of the old Streamliner routes, most everyone agreed it was not the same. Nostalgia is a powerful force, however. In the 1980s, a Swiss man by the name of Albi Glott had been operating luxury charter trains all across Europe and believed the same thing could work in the United States. He got in touch with entrepreneur William Spahan, and work began on a new enterprise to revive luxury rail travel in the United States. Operating under the name of American Orient Express, the service was little more than a handful of vintage railcars with lush refurbished interiors added to the back of existing Amtrak services. The service began with the Capital Limited from Washington, D.C. to Chicago 6 days a week, and later alternated onto the Broadway Limited from Chicago to New York City as well. The American Orient Express not only had luxury accommodations, but full sleeping car porter service and all the amenities one would have expected from the classic Streamliners. The service began in late 1989, aiming to capture business traffic between the cities by offering a much more comfortable and enjoyable journey. This proved to be a mistake, as a service several times the duration and expense of air travel did not appeal to business travelers very much. In 1991, the operation changed gears. Instead of hitchhiking on Amtrak, the American Orient Express became its own scheduled train running from Chicago to Washington, D.C. by way of the New River Gorge and Greenbrier Resort. This time, the train was marketed to sightseers and those traveling to the Greenbrier. The service became known as the Greenbrier Limited. It initially ran behind the F-unit diesels from CSX's executive train, but was later pulled by a pair of leased GP40s. The Greenbrier Limited was a much more successful venture, but it was not without incident. On July 21, 1991, the train tangled with a tractor-trailer at a grade crossing in Indiana. The resulting collision saw almost the entire train derail in some form, and there were many injuries among the passengers. Most, if not all, the injuries were thankfully minor. A fortunate outcome considering one of the sleeping cars went on its side. Leased passenger cars filled in while the damaged cars were repaired, but all were back in service in short order. That winter, plans were being made to run a service from New York to Florida, but a preview trip struck a pedestrian in the Philadelphia area, and the investors backed out. The American Orient Express was sidelined at the end of the 1991 season. The train remained idle until 1994, when former Texas State Representative George Pierce came on board aiming to reactivate the train. It was rechristened as the American Orient Express. He attempted to establish a route between Newport, Arkansas and Branson, Missouri. which was emerging as a new music hub. He also briefly leased several cars out to serve as a mobile showroom for the Neiman Marcus stores during the holiday 1994 season. The Branson trips never gained popularity, and Mr. Pierce left the operation. It was picked up by TCS Expeditions, a travel company owned by T.C. Swartz. TCS transformed the train into a national rail cruise operation and acquired more passenger equipment for the train. Operated under contract with Amtrak, who provided locomotives and engine crews, the American Orient Express's itinerary grew by leaps and bounds. Many different tour packages were offered, including coastal trips, coast-to-coast cruises, and national park circuits, including runs down the Grand Canyon Railroad to the South Rim as a layover point. From 2002 to 2004, enough equipment had been acquired that two consists were run as separate trains. In 2004, the cars were pulled back together and only one train was run at a time. The train reached a length of 22 cars at one point, which was beginning to create problems. That being said, despite the more than $5,000 per person ticket price typical on many trips, the train was often running at capacity. In 2006, the train was sold to the owner of Colorado Railcar and renamed the GrandLuxe Express. A few more additions were made to the train, and the future seemed bright. The economic downturn of 2008, however, sapped the customer base almost overnight and hit Colorado Railcar particularly hard at the same time. The GrandLuxe Express ceased operations on August 28, 2008. While an attempt was made to reactivate the train, it ultimately fell through, and by June of 2009, all the equipment was sold off. In any economic downturn, luxury items are always the first to be sacrificed. By no means did the train, by whatever name you call it, fail to do what it was intended to do. Even today, one still finds former employees of the train commenting online about how much they enjoyed their work. The train was a time capsule in many ways, but it was an expensive one to operate. When the money dried up, so did the operation. Such is the nature of business. Regardless, even if it operated more like a cruise ship on rails than the Streamliners of the Golden Age, many people still regard the American Orient Express as America's last true Streamliner.